This is That One Audition with Alyshia, Ochse.
Oh, what's happening?
Getting to go all the way back to the beginning, because I get to go all the way back to the beginning, Dave, whenever I sit down with people and I'm like, wait a second, how did this happen? I want you to take me all the way back.
I can feel my anxiety rising.
Well, I just want to know literally, my first question is, how the fuck does ER happen when you're over in Australia you start working in Australia first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
When did you, what I can see is like 2005, Blue Healers, right? No.
Yeah,
way back.
I'm sure films in there that no one should ever see. Blue Healers is one of my first. That was before that was after drama school, but yes.
You taught a drama school in Australia.
I start late. Okay, so I went to university to study other things. I straight out of school, criminology, politics. I then traveled around the world for a little bit. I left with the idea of traveling the world, Southeast Asia and Europe and Americas for a year. And I came back about 3 years later with the realization that I'd been kind of running from what it is that I needed to do and what it was that I thought I was going to do. What I thought I was going to do is probably end up in the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade or some kind of desk job and do what all of my friends were doing and were loving. And I just had this inkling that that's not what I wanted. I wanted to tell some stories and I wanted to get down in the mud and do some of the acting thing. And I was back for a couple of years. That's when I went to drama school. I went into drama school late. I think I was there when I was 25 and I got out, 26, got out just before 30. So yeah.
At that time, yes, was deemed quote unquote older, but I mean, not anymore, I don't think.
No, I was lucky enough to come out with not only a degree, but also a lot of life experience prior to that, which informed a lot of stuff for me and the journey that came after.
Well, you know what's interesting? I just was talking to LaMonica Garrett, and he worked with Morgan Freeman, and he was like, I asked him, can I pick your brain? And the one thing that Morgan told him, he's like, what's great that you started later is you started as a man. You didn't start at 16, 17 years old, have a couple hints that then you had to recover from and then get the industry to allow you to grow up. Like, you use Patrick Dempsey as an example, or certain people where it's like they get Love, Can't Buy Me Love, all these different movies that are huge for them. And then it takes them 10, 15 years to have the industry like meet them at being kind of a man before he gets to do like McDreamy and stuff. And I thought that was so interesting to hear because like so many actors write in all the time, I'm 30, but I think I really want to do this. I'm too old. And even the industry tells us that a lot. Like, oh, you didn't get started at 22? No. But you got more life lived before you did.
And it's funny the reaction I had to like starting it as a man, because I'm still figuring out what that means, like in itself, right? What it is to be a man. And I think that's part of the journey to anyone out there that is 30, that's looking to get on this journey now. It's never too late. It's absolutely never too late, because we are telling stories and we're inhabiting characters, and the characters that you will meet throughout your life, like literally and figuratively. I think that coming in late means that you just have it on a molecular level. You've got some stuff in you. You don't know how to present yourself to camera. You don't know what a mic is, or, how that's going to work, or how to hit a mark. But that shit you learn.
Yeah. I do believe once you get on set, a lot of the drama schools don't even teach that stuff. I feel like a lot of the conservatories spit you out, and then it was like, then you got on set and realized, oh.
Yeah, weirdly, the drama school, I think they've changed since I was there, but the drama school I went to, which was NIDA back in Sydney, they prided themselves on not being a TV and film school. They were all stage. It was all stage. We did, I think, 2 weeks at the very end in third year. By that time, you're this sort of catatonic, comatose mess of a person that has forgotten instinct, or you don't know what's going on. And they say like, okay, here's a camera. And we all kind of fumble in front of it. We all kind of don't understand the relationship to the lens. And it took me many years after to kind of figure elements of that out. And I'm still doing that. I think that relationship is a really peculiar one.
It's so funny to watch you on camera. And to me, that feels so inhabited now. The technique of relationship to camera. So much. from watching like early stuff, like ER was kind of also shot like theater, right? You're like constantly on, regardless of who gives a fuck where the cameras are, right?
Yeah, I know. I think that when I look at ER, all I see is abject fear in my eyes. So like that was a big show, and I'm coming on mid-season, and that was an interesting.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm from Australia.
That was your original. That was your.
You joined season 14, so you already know it's a juggernaut in America. You're right. You're coming in mid-season. So how does this even? Were you in the States at this point?
No, yeah, I'd done a couple of things back in Australia, and I'd managed to get an agent over here. I was between 2 seasons of a TV show that I was shooting back there. I came over to have some meetings and to meet some people. And one of those was with John Levy, who's the casting agent for ER. We had a lovely chat. And he said, look, I'm actually casting something right now. You're too young for it. But why don't you come in tomorrow? These are the sides, and throw you down on tape, whatever, and see how you go. I turn up to the audition. I didn't think I was going to be telling this story. So it was a funny thing. I was saying to my wife before, like, what story do I have that's that one audition? I guess this is that one audition, right? And I walk into the room, and there are like 8 or 9 people in there and no camera. And I'd never had an audition over here, so I didn't know what it was. I didn't know who was in the room. I didn't know who any of these people were. And I shook everyone's hand, which is a very odd thing to do. And then did the scenes in what was probably quite a terrible American accent. At the time, I assumed it was probably pretty accurate. And they said, can you do it with your Australian? And I did that. And then they said, all right, thanks. And I left. And then that day, my agent called me up and said, they want to offer you the job. I was like, what do you mean? There was no camera in the room. So how do they know that I'm going to, like, who's watching the tape? There's no tape yet. And they said, everyone that was of any importance to that show was in that room. So you met them all there. And I just didn't know it. Now, had I known that, I would have shut the bed like 7 times over. But the fact that I walked in being the guy from out of town, I had no baggage with me and I had no expectation. And if you could bottle that every time you walk into a room, you've got a really good chance because you're just being yourself. You're just kind of going like, I'm in the moment.
And then you get thrown into, like, you did 2 seasons on that, right? 14 and 15?
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of people, they get on shows, right? And then, especially having hit your first audition, basically, in America. Is this where you go back to Australia thereafter? Or the next thing I see is the Cape for NBC, right?
Yes, I didn't go back. I always go back. I go backwards and forwards, but I wasn't working anywhere. I actually, at the very end of that show, I did a pilot called Day One, where I met my beautiful wife. And when was that? 16 years ago. And that was meant to be a 2-hour premiere, big event, aliens coming to Earth and everyone's, the whole bit for NBC. And we were on hold for that for an entire year. So I couldn't work. They put a block on all of us. And
yeah. So then what does that do to your visa?
An O1 visa under NBC. So it was under their auspices. And that was all fine. And I was okay with it as well, because I was kind of like, I just get to be here for a little bit and I'm waiting for this thing to happen. And we were guaranteed that it was going to happen, that it was going to become an event. And then it slowly got whittled down to a 2-hour movie. And then it kind of went away. There was some shuffling going on at the top of NBC at the time. And we were kind of like the glory child of the former CEO ahead. And, it always happens. They want to get a clean slate coming in. So the new guy wants a clean slate. And that happened to us.
And then it went bye-bye.
It went bye-bye. But the only reason why it went bye-bye is because NBC said, hey, do you want to put something down for this Cape thing? And I said, but we're still doing the other one, right? We're still doing, and they're like, so was that
they have to audition, or did they ask you just to look at the Cape for NBC?
No, audition. Like, still, but we're auditioning. That's the deal. I'd love to say that, like, my journey has been filled with offers, but it has not. I'm down in the mud getting.
Very cool. Well, that's also, I think, nice to know, because I think people I think the offer is kind of a catch-22. Day one, then you're doing your audition and you're hoping that the studio, the director, everybody likes what you're doing.
That's it.
Or you do the audition, and at least if you're selected, then you know, okay, I know what I'm bringing day one. So I think both have their own set of nerves. So I was just curious, especially when you do a show and then you do another show, going back out there and auditioning again. And did it feel that way? Because then you say the Cape you auditioned for, right? You get it.
Yeah. I remember I auditioned for that back in Australia. This is why I don't do many of these, because I feel like I need to be truthful, but also I need to protect myself. But I will. So I always, when I finish a job, I think that's the last time I'm ever going to work.
Truly?
100%.
Even right now, like, okay, the beast in me is
right now, 100%. Yeah. I'm lucky enough to be in work right now. So I'm like, okay, I've got until June.
that you knew.
Yeah.
Tell you, and I'm sure your wife is too, you're going to work again. But it's interesting that it still comes up.
It's a traumatic response, something that I think that maybe we all deal with, maybe we don't. I've listened to a number of your interviews, and everyone's always so eloquent and beautiful and funny and pithy and these things. I'm going to fuck this up for sure. But one of the things that I get from it is that some people veer into this area of imposter syndrome or these ideas of anxieties and so on that we have as actors. Part of me wants to talk about these things and another part of me doesn't want to. And I don't mean in terms of this context. I mean ever.
I understand.
I just want to bring it out and put it on the table. Mm-hmm. It's there and you're accountable to it. But in terms of, that feeling of will you ever work again? I think it's there. It's always there, no matter what. You know?
I have it like, it's always like the last week of working or even if the job is only 2 or 3 weeks, on day 2, I'm like, well, what else is next?
100%. That's it.
What do I do next? And I do think it's a different muscle of the audition and the chase. I've gotten more accustomed to the chase than the receiving. So once I get something, I'm actually not comfortable almost staying there. I still need to chase.
That's it.
Yeah. I appreciate the honesty of that.
And that chase muscle that we have, it's not only actors that feel it, humans feel it. We all feel that. It's that thing where like, what's next, what's next, what's next? And given that our entire existence as actors is supposed to be in the moment,
Yeah.
it's such an ironic sort of paradox that we go like, I am so in this right now. And the moment it stops, I'm going to call my agent and see if there's anything out there. It's like, this is crazy. It's so schizophrenic.
It's so counterintuitive to being present. It's really, really to bring that. So if you're willing to share about you auditioning for the Cape, like what anxieties came up around that?
The anxieties, they're probably anxieties that stay the entire time, but to be the titular character and to be a hero, very tough. To be an anti-hero, that's a little easier because we're all a little grey, we're all a little abrasive. And what I realized only too late is that I could have probably imbued that with that, but I was just terrified of that kind of role because they're asking you to play Batman, but it ain't Batman. You know what I mean? So it's a little thing of there. But yeah, and that's not to down talk it. It's just that it doesn't come with a particular IP. Creating something from scratch, I wasn't sure about. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure about it. And people in my circle go like, do it. You get the opportunity to lead a show. And they were right. They were absolutely right. I don't regret it at all. I learned a lot, but I think I was licking a lot of wounds after it here I am again, sharing too much with you. What are you doing to me?
I do think I'm grateful that you're sharing some of this because to jump into being number one on a show and carrying a show, Carly talked a little bit about some of this stuff too. That
and
first
perfect number one. She's the so funny, so that she brings so much gravitas, but also so much humor and love and warmth. And that is something that's really hard to do when you have the stress of that position to kind of go like, no, that's okay. I can listen to someone's problems that they have with what's going on in the ecosystem and also hit my marks, have my lines, and actually go home that night and say, I did the character service or the script the service as opposed to I did everyone else's service and I kind of didn't leave it all on the field in terms of performance. And that is a really tough thing and not something that I actually don't gravitate towards that. I don't want, I don't yearn for that.
Well, I was going to ask a tough question where it's interesting. I always ask people like, you've gotten to be 3, 4, and 5 on the call sheet for 10, 15 years, 20 years sometimes before you get the number one on the call sheet. So you get to watch how people do it well, how people do it fucking terribly. Sometimes people get that for a while. And then you can kind of start to make a decision about where you want to sit, depending on what kind of offers are coming through, what kind of opportunities are coming through. And it was after the Cape, it's like Revolution. I don't know exactly where you were billed, but Revolution, Game of Silence, I know you were but these are more ensemble shows, right? So the pressure.
And the pressure is not as great. I think there was something that was said to me before. It was Chris Chulak, who was the producer on the show. Incredible director and such a great man. He said, the one thing that you're going to know as soon as you walk onto this set is that no one's bigger than the show. And that was set up by Noah Wiley and George Clooney and Anthony Edwards, all the people at the side. They said, no one's bigger than the show. So he asked the show. And then we are privileged enough to be playing a role within it. So that, you take that mindset into another show, and then it doesn't work for every show. Because if you're number one and it's just you and you're in every scene, it is a little bit lopsided. It's a little bit top heavy. And those other ones like Revolution, I was further down the call sheet. I know that you've spoken to the beautiful Billy Burke on this show, and you've worked with Billy Burke.
And what an anomaly he is. And he defines all.
What did you say?
I said, what an anomaly he is.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Defines all rules. Yeah. He's like, if this is the rule, Billy's like, well, fuck that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, he's kind of like a rock star trapped in an actor's career. It's kind of like this weird thing, and I love him. I haven't seen him for a million years, but he was such a good number one. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because on that show, I had previously auditioned for Eric Kripke as that role. I went in for Eric Kripke, nothing happened. Billy was cast as the bad guy, as Monroe. They had everyone set, and they couldn't find the lead guy. Jon Favreau was, from what Billy was telling me, basically saying, you've got the lead guy here, you've got number one here, it's Billy. Billy gets the job. On Saturday night, I get a call from Abel Webster saying, this is crazy. Would you be able to come in tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, and throw an audition down? I'm like, what's it for? He's like, it's for the bad guy. It's from Monroe. I was like, yep, okay. And they didn't even have sides for him. So I was using John Carlo's sides for his character. And I got in the next morning, did it. On Monday morning, I was on a plane. And on Tuesday, I was shooting the scene with Jon Favreau directing, but I was shooting Monroe's pickups from the scene that Billy had already shot.
Without Billy?
So I wasn't working with another actor. I was working with the scripty behind camera, reading the lines that Elizabeth Mitchell was going to be speaking. All the time thinking, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. And then the show kind of blew up in the way that it did. And I kind of went along on the ride, but I was on a coattail at that stage. And that's, that was a lovely fortuitous thing.
I'm glad you went back to it, because in Billy's interview, he did go through the whole process for that, where he was like, where they were like, he's going to be Monroe, and then they couldn't find the leak. Yeah.
Now you've got both sides of that coin.
Well, that's where auditioning is like, it's a fucking toss up. And when you're trying to do it right or do what they want, they don't fucking know.
And you know what? Having done a little bit of the directing side of things, is that they want the right person to walk through the door. That's all you want. They actually don't want, it doesn't need to be this big name here or this name over here. There's a writer out there and a director and a casting agent and a whole group of people that are going like, I just want that person, that woman or that man to walk through that door. And as soon as they see it, it kind of doesn't matter what you've done before. And I mean, it does in terms of like, studios and all that kind of BS. But essentially, if you can, it takes a lot of weight off you, that knowledge.
It really is a selection process. I don't think of it as a rejection process. And all the listeners, the millions of actors that listen to this, I always say, like, it's truly, if you can sustain yourself in this career if you don't take it fucking personally and you don't hit the bed every time you audition and be like, they hate me, I was terrible. If you can change your mindset into, not this one, I wasn't the right puzzle piece for this one, right? That's why I actually like this show, is so you can connect the dots and be like, oh, I wasn't the right one for this one, but 8 years later, I did enough great auditions that this is where it connects. This is the puzzle piece now.
And you know where, if anyone out there has the opportunity to do this, and it's actually harder to do now, it's actually almost impossible because there are no rooms. But I was really blessed, both in Australia and here, to be working as the reader.
See,
Right. So you know,
a valuable lesson.
oh, it's incredible because you see them come in and you go, oh my God, you're the person. And then you'll see something happen and you go like, oh, you're losing. Stay with it. You understand where the battle is won or lost. And it's not to say that you can then reenact it when you walk in the door. But the other thing that you get to hear is what they say about people as they walk away. And invariably they go like, what a great person. What a brilliant, thing. Not the guy, not the girl, but I. And to even be able to be blessed with a piece of that intel, to think that, oh, maybe 3 years from now, they will remember that when you walk into the room and you see one of those faces again. And that's happened to me where I go like, oh, like, yeah, that's, and it's this kismet moment where you're like, okay, the preparation, the exertion that I did back there is somehow picked up. This thread is picked up years later.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something really beautiful about it.
I do too. And that's why I actually enjoy doing this show, is because I think when you sit down and you do like a reflective look through your career, you can really see those moments. You can crystallize those threads. When we're just going, or when you're starting out, you don't have any threads to pull on quite yet. So your security is tied up in this one audition or this one moment.
Yeah.
Not realizing the thread is now just starting, right? And even 20 years in, there's still threads that I'm just starting with casting people that don't know me. So I just have to remember, this is not for the project. This is actually for this casting office.
And also don't assume that they don't know you.
That's true too.
And I don't mean that in terms of like, but them a lot more like, I mean, not they, it's not like, but there are, first impressions can go a very long way, but you can wait 10 years to get your second impression.
It's the kind of thing that I think really fucks with people.
Of course it fucks with people, because you kind of sitting there going like, wait a minute, my career feels like it's gone off on a boat. Now it's lost at sea and I'm sitting here on the shore. How long do I have to stare at this ocean for? There's a point at which, sometimes you have to go like, okay. And I guarantee the weird thing is, it's like a bad poking machine. The moment you want to walk away, it's going to tap you on the shoulder. Something happens.
Like the worst abusive relationship. And I was just going to ask, having imposter syndrome and you going through that moment of like, oh, well, that's it. When I look at your career and I play connect the dots, I'm like, man, this motherfucker gets on every great show. He's always working. To me, it doesn't feel like there's a valley or a staring at the horizon. Has there been moments for you where you're like,
100%. Yeah, there's been literal 2-year gaps and so on. But what you don't see, if you look on an IMDb page, you don't see when it was shot. You saw when it aired. I was doing an interview because a show that I'd shot 3 years ago was making its rounds in Australia. And the interview was going like, where are you now? I said, I'm up doing a show. He said, and you've got this other one coming out. Mate, you are killing it. I'm like, you're joking. He's like, you're killing it. What are you talking about? Like, I shot that 3 years ago and I only got this because another guy couldn't get here. Like this image that we have that like, oh, there's stuff going on, but we're all scrapping. And I don't want to down talk say that there's a lot in the artifice of this.
yeah, yes, there is a lot on when you can just read something off of a page. That's why I wanted to ask you. Those lull moments, those imposter moments of coming off something and being like, I don't know when I'm going to work again. Especially you being a two actor household. How do you guys, like, between each other from the mental side of it, go like, okay, well, let's just see what happens?
I have the best wife in the world. That's part of it. Like, because she is so intuitive, so giving, so awesome. And I try to emulate that from my side, but I think that there are two sides of that coin. One is that you understand the struggle, and the other is that you're both in the same struggle, and that can lead to wherever struggle leads to. But I think that we have a really healthy way of dealing with it, and it's want to bring our relationship into this, but it's a really beautiful one. Someone was asked me, a kid asked me for an interview the other day, and she had some questions like, what advice would you give to an actor? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not good at giving advice. I'm not good at taking it. But I was like, I guess be considerate and kind and conscious, those things. And whether or not that's a relationship, whether or not it's the industry, whether or not it's in the work environment, it's all those things. And I guess what we try and do here, Carly and I, is kind of approach it with that in mind, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Do you and Carly read with each other?
Doing what?
You guys read with each other?
Sure.
Okay. So since you're doing, I'm assuming, for The Beast in Me, did you have to throw down a tape for that?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm
now
like...
let's dispel another myth. I very rarely get an offer. Right? So I do a lot, like most of the stuff in America, I think that it's pretty much all been audition.
Dude, that's incredible. Because that makes me understand your camera technique, your process, like your availability to camera even more, because they're watching tapes and then you're still selected. So for The Beast in Me, brilliant, by the way. I really liked this character on you.
That is a gift. Gabe Roddup is a writer, and Howard Gordon, those guys, they know how to write. They really know how to write. So that is a gift. Like, honestly, like anyone in my haggard appearance and so on would be able to play that. Because that's the beautiful thing about writing. You play it differently.
Yes.
But like, it wasn't one of those ones where I had to strive to figure out who the guy was. And that's a real gift.
That is a real gift. And you've been doing this for a while, so you can like throw things down, I'm assuming fairly quickly. But just because people love understanding, I know some people hate talking process, but since you did go to drama school, you have been on like so many great shows that you've been able to kind of assess technique. What are you doing to get this down when you and Carly are taping it? What are some of the things that you guys are focusing on? You got the script, you got the story. It's fucking great words, right? Sometimes the hardest thing is playing something that is so available to you. Do you know what I'm saying? Where you're like,
yeah, because you don't want to fuck it up.
So I'm just curious, like, and please don't be bashful about it. If you're like, fuck, I threw it down. Carly and I did it in 2 takes between changing the diaper, and then that's what it was.
Well, weirdly enough, so it was just the two of us at that stage. I threw this, or I didn't throw it down, like, did the necessary work, and I'll get into the process. I've got no problem talking about that. But it was about 3 months before the birth of our son that I got a phone call saying, you got the job. And I honestly said, what job are you talking about? Because it had been a long time and I didn't hear anything. So we often like kick this stuff into the ether. And there used to be a moment there where they'd give feedback, or they'd say, all right, for this one, there was a 0. There was nothing. I didn't even know they liked the tape. And I got the call on a Friday night, I remember, 9 o'clock, driving the side of the road because I was with a baby on the way and so on. I was feeling quite a bit of stress, and that was a very beautiful moment. But yeah, so that audition that we did, what I find is to keep it, somehow figure out a way to keep it alive, to surprise yourself. That's kind of like, there's so much technique. We can talk about technique, but I think part of the technique for me is figuring out how to blank slate it so that you don't know what you're going to do. Because then if you're surprising yourself in the moment, you're guaranteed you're surprising anyone watching it. And it's not about surprising. It's not about like, wow, what a range. It's more that it feels, by proxy, a lived experience, because we don't know how we're going to behave. I don't know what I'm about to say right now. Like, we don't know what we're about to be or who we are and so on. So being able to get the script in your brain on such a granular or molecular kind of level that you don't think about the words that you need, and then to blank slate it and go like, let's see what happens.
Yes. Okay. I know this might be hard to put into words. This is putting you in a hard spot. I just was having this conversation with another actor where it's like, okay, the script analysis, where's the turn in the scene? What's the story about? What am I doing? Da, 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 da. And then they're like, then I'm so in my fucking head that I love your term of like blank slating it. Is there something that you do before you're rolling camera, rolling tape on something that helps you blank slate it? Anything, you know?
So I have a secret weapon, and that's Carly Pop. Like she will tell me if I'm moving into a rhythm or if I'm, and that is a beautiful thing, be able to see something because she knows what it is that she likes and what I like. And I've learned this from her. I'm not divulging anything, but it's something as simple as this. If you walked in camera left on one take, walk in from camera right and just see what it does. It's just really simple because the moment you walk in the same way, you're already in a rhythm. And you're not allowed to do that on set because they're like, this is your mark. You come through that door and there are some focal points. And we need to connect all those elements. But when you're in your own home, you know, if you're finding inspiration out there, find it. And this is obviously a podcast. If you're finding it from out beyond in the trees outside the window, find it from the dust bunny that's in the corner or under the bed. It's just finding these little elements that then after a while, if you're as psychotic as I am, I can do 25 takes pretty like.
Really?
But it gets to the point where I'll go through them and go like, yeah, the second take was the one.
I was just going to ask, especially, thank you for just being honest about the simplicity of it. Cause I do think that that's exactly it. Popping your focus to something else, right? Where you're like, okay, start with a different prior moment where you're over here or you're over here.
Yeah.
Get yourself out of that rhythm. I like to shock my system kind of before I start or improv in a little bit. And then it is usually, I always tape rehearsal. Anybody that comes over, they're like, let's just read it really quick. I'm like, nope. Let's do tape rehearsal because we're discovering versus knowing the pattern of what's getting ready to happen. It might shock me too, you know?
Yeah, it is a gift. And if you have enough, it's such a, this is going to be a really ridiculous reference. It's there. In The West Wing, Sorkin, who's, you know, a genius, but there is a moment where the First Lady cuts the president's tie in half just before he goes on. And it's this moment where it's in order to get him out of his space. It's creating chaos before he has to go on and give, you know, the debate speech of his life. And in doing so, he nails it. There's something about that element of discombobulation that allows you to go like, if you're confident enough in that moment to go like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what the words are. And I've been thrown, see what happens. And there is something exciting about it. You may kind of go like, that was a piece of shit. But the other side of it is like, at least you went there and you discovered something.
It's just that simple of like, let me go from left to right or right to left now. Let me come from depth. You're right. On set, it's a little bit different. I've gotten to be privy to watching the great Meryl Streep on set before. And she started every single take different. And that's what and it doesn't matter. We're only going to use one take at the end, but it was for herself and watching her do it and her just having a delight and a giggle about it when they would yell cut. She was like, that was funny. I didn't expect that to happen. I thought that, I mean, she's discovering something every single time.
That's it. And every time, I totally agree. And you've just named one of the greats. And what a privilege and a beautiful thing to be able to watch that and see it in action. Because then it's the editor's job to kind of figure out which take they're going to use. There's something that dies with predetermined beat that you're trying to play. There's something that kind of dies. Like, I've got to cry in this moment. And I still, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting there like, I get full into this trap all the time where I'm like, I get anxious and I'm just going to play this straight away. I'm going to try and aim for that. And then you walk away going, why don't I just allow the moment to take me? Why don't I just let the other actor take me somewhere with what it is that they're saying? Just listen, Dave. Just listen. That's all you need to do. It's pretty easy. But when you've got all the maelstrom of stuff that's going on around you, it's really hard to remember those moments. Meryl Streep, as you know, is Meryl Streep. So, you know.
Well, and there's something too, and let's also just be, there's something too about being Meryl Streep and being like, I'm fucking Meryl Streep, so I'm going to do whatever I want to do in this take. She's still in a place of play where she doesn't She's not auditioning. She's not being like, I wonder when I'm going to work again. She's getting to be like, well, I'm going to work again in 5 years because I want to work in 5 years. Not
Yeah.
like,
I'd also say that it's just being in the moment. It's almost even a lot of that ego that allows you to say, I'm just going to do this in this very moment, and that's it. That's all that exists right now. It's just more that it's an interesting point to explore to what it takes to feel free in that moment to do something that might surprise. Because I guarantee that everyone that is sitting behind the monitor will love it if you do it. It's that thing you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And we're moving on. It's like, but that's not what you asked me to do. It's like, yeah, but I didn't ask you to do that thing because I needed it. I just wanted to see something. You gave me something else. And it's still interesting. So I'm moving on. And that's when you're like, okay, a note isn't necessarily, it doesn't need to be taken verbatim. It can be a springboard to another idea.
and the exploration. I did a whole episode on this where people were imploding after getting notes. And sometimes a note is just because you got an idea that somebody did, and then you're like, actually, that doesn't work.
100%.
Moving on.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From scene study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created the Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
Since you've been doing this for a while, and even be it sitting in the director's seat, let me ask you this. After directing and going back to acting, what was one thing that you kind of took from the directing side that you brought into your acting thereafter?
Well, it was, I think that you can see acting. And then you can feel when someone's not acting. And I know that sounds really,
It's a little esoteric, but you're right. You can just see it.
Yes. It's that same thing where you want that person that you've been imagining on the page in your head to walk through the door. You know that anyone can come in and give their interpretation of it, but you have this idea. And when you see it, like, that's it. And I could just put the camera on you and just let it watch you. I find that interesting. I think what I learned is that everyone, I think there's a part of us, and I certainly fall victim to this all the time, part of us that wants to get it right. You want to get it right. And there's no such thing, because perfection doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in anywhere in life or the world. The point is, you cannot achieve it. You can't achieve the perfection. And there was that director friend, Fred Toy, that calls it the yeasty moments, the moments between the thoughts. Those things that the lines hang on, the dark matter within this universe that we create that you know is there, but you can't touch it, you can't see it. And it's the yeasty moment. And that's the bit, as a director, I was watching it going like, oh man, I don't want to hear that speech that I wrote over there. I want to watch her, listen to it while she's scratching her fingernail or something. There's something about it. Yeah.
It's the nonverbal for me. That's where we always lean in, right? When I'm working with other actors or even myself, it's when the actor drops the line, right? That's when you lean in, where you're like,
That's it. Yeah.
And then
It's so real.
It's so real. That's what we're trying to capture. I have a couple of rapid fire questions.
Oh shit. Yeah. Okay.
This might be hard to answer because you worked with so many. Favorite actor you worked with? What'd you learn?
Well, we're just so many actors that are favorite, and I've walked away going like, holy shit, you are who you are because you do what you do. So I'm going to, it's funny, I'm going to say, there's so many.
Yeah.
You don't, and he's an even brilliant actor in his own right, never got as much recognition as I think he deserves. Mike Mosley, who was in 7 Seconds, there's something that I'm really drawn to about the way he performs. He keeps it loose and he keeps it easy. He keeps it funny. He has an incredible way of imbuing tragedy with a comedy. He's kind of abrasive and there's a lot going on there. And I remember so many good actors on that show. Raoul was incredible as well. And I love his stuff. And Regina, like, they're all amazing. But there was something about him in 7 seconds. I was like, oh man, I could watch you do this all day. And when I'm doing it with you, I'm not allowed to be acting. I have to move like I'm in the fight. Like everyone's got the plan until they get punched in the nose, right? And you're sitting there going like, I don't know what he's going to throw at me. Waving, punching, whatever.
About that discovery moment, right? He's prepping it for you. Okay, you're gonna kill me for this because I have to bounce back just a little bit because Eat, Pray, Love. I need to know about that audition because women get asked this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What did your audition require for that part?
I mean, did it require nudity? No.
Yes.
I was it Francine Maisler, I think it was. And I went, and I think I was wearing what do we call them now? We don't call them what we call them in Australia. A singlet?
Yes, the tank top. Because
tank top.
Name.
I was wearing a tank top and I know that, and another one where I put it down when like, I'm not getting that. And then got the phone call and I was over in Bali doing it. And I didn't really understand what was asked of me until I got there. And then Ryan Murphy's like, so this is the shot. And I was like, oh, okay. That's the shot then. It was us in a scene with Julia Roberts. And she was very gracious, very lovely. It was such a traumatic experience to say the very least.
It was before intimacy coordinators.
It was just,
here you go.
Yeah, I remember when they finished the shot and I'm standing, and everything moves fast on set, obviously, and they were moving on to another shot, which meant that like picking up the cameras and just kind of moving down the beach, and I'm standing there with literally just in a cock sock and just holding my
looking around,
over like and then someone comes like, you're all right. I'm like, I'm not great. Can you go out? Is there like just a shirt or something? And it was that thing where and we've all felt it. You just feel like a piece of discarded thing. You're like, that feels really dirty. And that is not to cast any. It's more I say that because it's kind of funny because it's not Ryan's job. You're like, hey, does he have a shirt? You just get lost in the mix.
So many times as a woman on set where like people at Video Village, I'm like, this is supposed to be closed, right? It is closed, but you've got 50 people at Video Village. So
that's it. So what is a closed set? And with the advent of intimacy coordinators, I think there's been some really great steps there.
Fantastic steps. Yes, there's not like I have a row of no, even solely closed, right? It's just great, really. We've made progress. I just believe, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't get to ask him. Okay, what's the one role that got away from you or you wish you could have stolen back that you got real close? I love hearing these because I think we all need to hear those ones that it could have been Dave Lyons instead of.
Well, I know which role it is. I actually know what it is. I hesitate to say it because I was under the impression that I was very close, but you never really know how close you are. And also it went to a friend of mine who's incredible and did incredibly with it. But it was the role that Sally Stapleton did in Animal Kingdom with David Michôd. I say that because I think I got quite close to it, but I might have to.
You were more attached to it. It's the ones that I get attached to, right? Where then I see it later. And it's usually wonderful work when you see the other person doing it. There's just
no one could have played that role but Sally. I would have been doing a lot of acting and Sally was being Sally. And it was actually a really beautiful thing between Ben Mendelsohn, Joel Edgerton and Sally and Jackie Weaver. Like that is a tour de force and not a bum note in it. So I kind of went like, yeah. And that's why I'm hesitating because I really don't know if I was that close.
You never know. Just
never know. Yes.
Never know. It's a curious thing. And what's the one thing that you've done that you wish more eyes would have seen it? I mean, put it in the can, like we can put some eyeballs on because man, it was so fun, Dave. So fun.
I think I've just talked to him. The one thing.
Yeah. This resume is insane. I cannot wait to see The Night Agent. I know you're working on that right now.
I'm not working on that now. That's actually something else I'm doing. That one's actually wrapped up. It'll be good. I think it'll be good. Yeah, I think it'll be good. Yeah. Gabe's amazing. And he's channeling something in that role. So it's really beautiful stuff. And Sean Ryan is a master. But in terms of eyeballs, wow. It's nothing to do with my performance, but it's a film that I haven't watched for a while. I tend not to after I've been at things. But the film with Kate Blanchett and Robert Redford and Dennis Quaid is called Truth. And it's a film, and what I find interesting about it is that it's a film that cannot be made now. It will not ever be made, something like that. It's talking about George W. and the 60 Minutes and a row that they were having with the White House in relation to George W.'s military records. And it's such a small story that has such massive themes. And it kind of heralds the beginning of the trolling internet. But in the world that we live in now, in the age of misinformation, disinformation, and polarization, that film doesn't work. You won't ever see it. But I think that there's some really great themes and some great stuff in it. And it's nothing to do with my stuff in it. It's actually, I'm only a subsidiary character, but that is one of those films that I was proud to be a part of. And it was a film that I really wanted to see, even if I wasn't in it.
Yeah, there's some good stuff. Okay, last one.
Sorry, these are rapid fire and I'm just talking to you.
No. How do you and Carly celebrate? Is getting work still a celebration?
100%.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a celebratory ritual or like what?
Just break down in tears and hold each other, I think, is what we do. No, it's a funny thing. Yeah, we don't necessarily celebrate it, but it comes with this sense of, well, there's 2 points. One is you get the job, and that's the best moment of your life. And then the other one is that you have to do the job, and that's not as good because you kind of get like, oh, fuck, now I have to do it. So it's that period between getting it and doing it. That first week, it's really lovely. But how do we celebrate it? I think it's a literal exhale to say, okay, we're still in it. We can do this.
Also, and I know you guys worked together. And that's how you met, 16, 17 years ago?
I don't even know what year it was.
It's late to see you guys do something again.
Yes. Well, no one ever saw that either.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to see what's happening behind closed doors for these self-tapes. I'd like to see it.
We have got reams and reams of tapes that we've done.
This was lovely. Thank you for letting me pick at certain things and get into the minutia of some things that I know that you don't necessarily want to talk about. I know you don't normally do these, but it really is nice.
You're great at what you do. Let me just say that, like, the people that come on here, I've listened to my beautiful wife do it. Ivan Shaw, another great mate, and everyone's so eloquent. You draw out of people really, really interesting insights into this industry, and all of us have a different journey, and you're able to pick that out and kind of bring it to the fore. I'm not sure that I've given you what you need, but it's been a real pleasure, and I appreciate you and what you're doing, what you're giving to the community.
Thanks for saying that, man. It was so fun. It's so fun to watch you work.